bunch of geese on that pond. All the ones from around here, they migrating away. Those are probably some from up north going further south. It's probably. Probably couldn't see it on the camera. You can see that white picket fence though. On the other side of it, there's a few ponds. Cut myself today. I just cut myself in 3 places. Not deep cuts, not anything too serious. It bleed quite a bit out my leg, not like serious. Probably take this off now. I didn't have I got a little bit. I took a face mask, wrapped it around my leg to stop the bleeding, and it worked. I crawled up under that house pulling the insulation out of that house. That had my shoulders tired, and then I run the chainsaw that had my shoulders tired. I lifted up them radiuses and everything. This week's really got my shoulders tired. There's a lot of tethered, that's the wrong word for it. I can't. Dang, the police behind me. See, I gotta stop at the stop sign anyway. That flag has gotten, dang it. Everything's in the way. I'm sorry about that. I tried to show it. The storms tore it up. The storms tore a lot of flags off. And I'm kind of surprised they haven't been replaced yet. It seems like they used to replace them a lot faster, but maybe since so many are broken at the same time. Where is my phone? Oh, I'm live streaming. My phone's right there. I thought I left it in the shop for a second. I got it on my steering wheel. I thought I was going to be working real late today. I guess that was the plan. But then I guess everybody got tired and decided we'll finish it tomorrow. Hello. Rodney St. Ellen. Y'all see, I don't know if any of y'all saw when I was live earlier. The boss, he come up with this idea to just pull the truck up in the garage and then put plywood over the rails where we strap our ladders, and then put a ladder on top of that. And I don't think we're gonna do it that way. Then hey Cleo, NEORBS. I don't know how to pronounce that. I was thinking about saying about going over there and doing some work out there at the property after work today, but after work today I'm too tired and I just don't feel like it. Brittany's already got me a pizza with jalapenos, chicken, black olives, and onions. And she's already made tea, so I'm not even gonna stop. As thirsty as I am, I'm not even gonna stop at the store to get a drink. I'm just going all the way home. And I'll drink and eat when I get to the house. It'll take about almost an hour. I want to get another camera for my truck where I can film this stuff while I'm driving without it being on my phone and show some of these trees the storm's thrown over and just different stuff. I showed it in another live stream. There's this cherry almond soap. That soap smells so good. And it's got olive oil and shea butter and cocoa butter. It's got all these moisturizers in it. And it smells very strong like cherry and almond. It's got two kinds of clay in it. I don't know why, but it works good for shampoo and soap. I need to get the brand name. I highly recommend it. I don't do any commercials. I don't have ad revenue on. I don't monetize my channel because I don't want to self-censor myself, worried about being demonetized. And also, I hate commercials. I don't want people to have to watch any more than necessary. And nobody's paid me to endorse any product. Just I recommend some things because I really think they're good products. Time to time. I don't know what R means. I had somebody, they was mad at me on Facebook, and they messaged me on one of my posts, and they say no one is paying any attention to you. No one cares about your political post. And I was thinking, well, like, I replied, I said, well, you are, you know. And then they said something else or another. And then my mama got on there and she was like, you know, pointing out the obvious. Hey, you on the post. Then he goes and kind of attacks her, saying that she's a bot. Nobody cares about Charlie Kirk. Nobody cares about her. No one's paying any attention to your post. And I'm like, look, you are. You just saw her post. And then he says, then he calls me dumb. And then he says that I have a sad, that something about my life is sad. But I'm really happy in life, really. You know, there's ups and downs in life, but I'm happy in life. And then he tries to argue and tell me I'm not happy. How does he know? And then I look at his Facebook profile and he's single and he's posting things about Grand Theft Auto. And I don't know what I said to spawn the man, like what, you know, but I know I've said offensive things. But some things aren't offensive because they're bad, they're just true. You might be offended because someone said something that was wrong, but you might just be offended because you want to live in a delusion and the truth pisses you off. You know, the problem with hate speech laws or misinformation laws is no one's always right, not even the government or whoever decides what's misinformation or not. They may think something's true and it not be true. And then people, if you really love, then you hate the opposite of what you love. Like if you love your baby, you're not going to love a lion that eats your baby. And so these things, there's a polarity involved, you know, between love and hate. You know, the opposite of love and hate is not each other, but indifference. You know, if you just didn't care one way or another, that would be both the opposite of love and both the opposite of hate, you know. Love and hate are kind of on a spectrum because when you're loving something, you're hating its opposite. And so if they can tell you what you're not allowed to hate, then they can tell you what you're not allowed to love. And a lot of people don't think it through like that. But there are some things that deserve to be hated. There's some behaviors, there's some things that are just bad. They don't help human flourishing. And it makes sense to hate certain things. Now, some people say, well, you should accept. Some people accuse people of hating because they don't accept all behaviors. But that's absolutely ridiculous. What if I was to say, which I'm not, but let's just say for the sake of an example, what if I was to say I'm a murderer? And then I was to say, you need to accept me the way I am. You're intolerant. Why don't you accept that I'm, you know? And then you'll say, well, and then what if I was to say, oh, you don't accept me as a murderer? Well, you're full of hate. You're a bigot. You don't accept everybody. You see what I'm saying? Now, that's an extreme case, but there are harmful behaviors that not only harm the person that is engaging in the behavior, but harm other people. And so it's okay to not accept everything. You shouldn't accept and tolerate everything. And if you have any kind of virtue or any kind of morals whatsoever, to even have those, there has to be things that you do not tolerate or do not accept. When a culture starts holding up tolerance as a virtue, you know that culture has slipped away from virtue. They have no morality. That's why they want you to tolerate everything. So you'll tolerate the evil right along with the good. And there's things that just should not be tolerated. You know, 1 out of 3 women in this country has killed their own child. And they tend to talk in language like their own child is a parasite. And that's absolutely ridiculous, because you're benefiting from your child. It's continuing your bloodline. That's how you reproduce. That's how you pass on your genes. You know, a baby in a mother's womb is not a parasite. You know, that's a ridiculous way of looking at it. I mean, you're going to die, but your genes live on through reproduction. So it's not a parasitic relationship, even if it is taxing on the body. And then, you know, if we were to use that same logic and we was to say, well, like, one thing that women don't think about is how much depends on the labor or the body of men. So what if you were to say anybody that's not a net taxpayer doesn't have the right to life? You see what problems this would cause? And then you ask yourself, you know, if somebody killed you right now, you would say that they murdered, you know? Well, if you say, well, a day before that, was it murder? Then you go a day before, till you're in the womb. It's always you. It would still be murder no matter what age you are when you're murdered, you know? And the my body, my choice is ridiculous, because the child has their own individual DNA. The body of the child is not your body. But then you say, well, it's using my body. Well, the child did not choose to be in your body. You had sex, and that's how you got pregnant, and that's how you got a baby. And then I'll say this. A lot of people say, why is there all this suffering in the world? I gotta straddle that turtle. Me and the person in front of me both moved to not hit that turtle. And the turtle, like a lot of people are stopping, getting the turtle off the road. The turtle's on the road on purpose. It's cold-blooded. It's trying to heat up and digest its food. It's not always trying to cross the road. Sometimes the turtle's just on the road to warm up. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Who knows? They abort 10 million babies every year. We may be killing. God might have sent 70 different people with the cure for cancer or the cure for AIDS, or it's the person who knew how to get microplastics out of the human brain and testicles and clean up the ocean. It might have been the person who was going to invent. They might have been going to invent the cheapest, cleanest, most efficient energy. You know, killing 10 million babies every year with abortion. There's no telling how many saviors you've murdered, how many inventors you've murdered. It could have been that we would have had a golden age, but you murdered the geniuses that would have been born. And then you go and complain about the problems and say, why is there all these problems? Why does God let there be all of these problems? You know, and humans are causing their own problems. Humans are not fixing their own problems. It's kind of a waste of time to just argue about is God good or bad for letting this happen or not letting that happen. Humans are letting it happen. Humans are not taking responsibility for humanity's actions. I'm in Wheeler County, the greatest county on earth. It's a really good county because there's plenty of deer meat, there's plenty of trees, there's plenty of water, there's a long growing season for food, not a lot of people per square mile, a lot of privacy, and a lot of really good, nice, decent people. so thirsty. I'll be so glad to get home. Keep having pieces of pine straw hit the windshield. It must be windy out there. We've been going through a lot of, I don't know if they've declared it a drought. We've been having a drought is the way I feel. A lot of the water level in a lot of ponds has dropped. And I'm really hoping for some rain. And we finally have some rain in the weather forecast, but it's not a lot. It's like 0.03 inches one day and less than that all the other days, and only 2 or 3 days. So we're not going to get a lot of rain, but it's nice that we're finally going to get some rain. And we really need the rain. I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show that little tractor. This is right outside of Glenwood. I've never been there, but they do horse races and I don't know who, but Glenwood they got some stables there and they do a few horse races. And they got the American flag out here. And I had the air freshener covered it up. But they had the American flag out there. But for a while they had the Mexican flag. And I don't understand that. Why were they flying a foreign flag? What in the world? But they got the American flag back up there. That's good, I suppose. It's just one of those things that don't really matter that much, but it does. Like, I don't know why I get upset about it. Because, really it's superficial. Like, does it really matter? But to me it does. I always hate to see foreign flags flying over American soil. You know, I think about what is that? I don't get it. You know, when my dad, he went to Korea and he went to Britain and he brought back flags as a souvenir, but we never flew them. You know, I would never fly them. You know, but, you know, like, I hope the people of those countries fly their flag in their country. But I don't see the point of coming to America and then flying the flag of the place you left to come here. I don't understand that at all. Go back. Like, we've got I don't know if she's a spy. I don't know what. You know, they just sort of show up once people start. Anyway, we got this woman from Israel moved in, and all she can do is talk about how great Israel is, and Israel's better than America. Obviously it's not, bitch, because you come over here, you're living over here. You think they'd be so accepting of you having children with a black man? They forced sterilized the black Ethiopian Jews in Israel. Quit that bullshit saying Israel's a better country. You know it's not as good of a country. That's why you're in America. Or that Russian guy over there in Canton County talking about Russia's such a better country than America, but he's in America. Or the Mexicans talking about the Mexican way is better, but they're in America. I'm not convinced, because you're over here. Now, I know some of them are not over here to try to have a better life and be over here. Some of them are over here to just siphon money off, send it back over there, and retire back over there. A lot of them, actually. So some of them, you know, they really feel that Mexico's a better country. And they're not here to stay. They're just here to make money, send it over there where the cost of building houses is cheaper, build their house over there, and then go back over there. And, but, you know, for the ones that live here and stay here and have kids here and their kids are going to stay here, and they keep talking about that their country's better, then if your country's better, you're a special kind of stupid to know your country's better than here and leave there for here and stay here. Fucking go back. Anyway. And you know, I think this too, right? There's a lot of problems in my country, and sometimes I've thought about going to another place, but I feel responsible for this place. And that's another thing. How is somebody going to come to your country and make your country better when they didn't make their country better? They didn't feel responsible or loyal to their country. How am I supposed to expect them to be loyal to my country? They didn't say, oh, my country has problems, let me fix it. They said, I'm going to run away from it and come to America. And then, I ask a lot of them. I ask them, if America was in a war and they started a draft, what would you do? And they're like, I'd go back to Mexico. We don't need people like that. What we need to do is just have more babies. We don't need to bring in all these other different cultures to have all kind of other reasons to fight and argue and have disagreements and misunderstandings. If we need more of a labor force, we can just have more babies. That's what we ought to do. And a lot of them ought to be ashamed of themselves for abandoning their country, not trying to fix their country. Because a lot of these countries that they come from have plenty of resources, have a lot of natural resources, have a lot of natural wealth. It's just mismanagement and corruption and fraud that keeps them from developing. Now, there are some circumstances. There are some circumstances where I'm okay with people. Like, let's say you're in a war-torn country and there's famine and the whole culture is completely opposite to your values. I could understand you leaving and coming over here. Like, let's say you've got somebody and they're in a communist country and they don't believe in communism, and they really try to talk but nobody listens to them, and they just don't feel at home in their own country and they want to come over here. I'm cool with that. I understand that. I can respect that. Like, I know a man, he's a man and he lives in Morocco, and secretly he doesn't believe in Islam, but his parents, he says that some people might even kill him and they would shun him, and he's got to kind of keep it a secret that he don't really believe the religion. And there's people that will kill him if he leaves the religion. And he wants to come to America. Well, I understand that, and I hope he comes to America, But like, if your life is not in danger, if your life's not in danger, if you don't feel at odds with the culture of your nation, don't go to another nation and try to spread your culture there. Just stay where you're at and improve your country. Sometimes I think, they're going to keep saying, sometimes I think maybe we should just all pack up and leave and go back to Europe. Just leave America, go right back to Europe. Because then they can't say, like, go back to Britain. All of us Americans just get up and go back to Britain. And they couldn't say, go back to where you come from or whatever. And then just let them have it. Because, it's not the land, it's the people that's made the nation what it is. It don't matter. You can take my people and put them on any biome. Desert, Arctic Circle, prairie, mountains. It don't matter where my people go, we'll be successful. It's a mentality thing. It's what we have up here. It don't matter where we go. We can go to where there's nothing and build a great civilization wherever we want to go. And so some people think we're just on some magic dirt. That the dirt in America is just magically, like Australia, is that magic dirt? Or did some my people show up over there and then make a great nation? I don't know. I'm just talking too much junk, I guess. I'm in Georgia. I'm in the United States of America. I'm in the state of Georgia, greatest state in the Union. I'm in a little town that's only got one traffic light. That's the way I like it. If it ever grows too big, I'll move away. Some people are for the city and some people are for the country. Some people want to leave here and go to the city. They're like, there's so many things to do in the city. I go in a city and I feel like I'm in a prison. I'm like, something's wrong. My instinct tells me, leave this place. It's really innately in me. Like, it's in my DNA. My daddy's not that way. My brother Josh is not that way. My brother Adam's not that way. But my mama and all my other brothers and sisters are that way. We just can't live in a crowded city. It's like, it's not our natural habitat. When I'm in a city, I just feel like it's a prison. I feel like it's just pollution. What are all these police up here? They got a damn roadblock. People driving around a log truck while the police are they out this way? This log truck must be broke down. They're not signing for it. They just stay there. Which one is that? Oh, hey, that's a nephew. I believe he's Mr. David's nephew. Mr. David's nephew is over there. He's a cop. He's a Christian. He's got some tattoos on his arm. There's another one with tattoos on his arm, but he's a different man. It ain't the same one, right? And I like him. I ain't got a bad, like, it ain't just me being like prejudiced against cops, you know. I'm not judging them by their occupation. I'm judging them by their character. You know, one of them was talking about he could have me arrested for defamation of character. Bring me to court for that. You know, first of all, you'd have to prove that I didn't believe I was telling the truth. But I ain't got a bad word to say about Mr. David's nephew. I've seen him respond to a few different calls, and I've seen him how he treats people with dignity and respect. And I just ain't got nothing to say bad about that man. I don't know his name, or I would say his name and give him a shout out. But Mr. David's nephew, he's a cop and he's a good man. And some of these other police, they should take notes. They should really look at him and look at Jimmy, and they should try to be more like them. You know, your job is to enforce your law, but your job's not to be a tyrant. Your job's not to be an asshole. Your job's not to treat people disrespectfully and not show people, treat people with dignity. Your job's not to just ink it, you know. Your job's not to stroke your ego. Your job's not to get your dick hard telling people what to do, ordering people around. You're actually supposed to be a public servant, which is a foreign concept to the majority of them. They can't even comprehend the notion of that. So dang, they got shit. I'm gonna back up and turn around. I ain't about to try to come through here like this. So they got something worse than just a log truck out, because they got, dang, what the hell? How they get? There's a back way. There's two damn semi trucks broke on both sides of the red light. But I know a back way. You can go this back way by the bank, and there's a back road that leads out to the dollar store, and then you can drive out the dollar store parking lot and get back on 280 and avoid all that mess. The good news is you got the police busy with all that, so they won't be harassing people, or they won't have time to cause somebody no problems. And Jimmy. And I'd say, nobody's perfect and gets it right every time. But a lot of times, I would say that Giles is reasonable and everything. But another thing is he has something to keep him accountable. He's an elected sheriff who's going to want to get elected next year, Imagine if for them to be able to have that position, they needed the consent of the governed. Imagine if there was an election every year on whether or not they kept the job or not. Which obviously they ain't gonna do that. But I think that they need to take away their protection from being sued as private citizens. Like people should be able to sue a cop for assault. But because you can't sue a cop and you got to sue the whole city, you wind up, like you don't even want to hurt your own town. You don't want to bankrupt your own town over an individual. But I really think something's got to give about that. They're never going to fix the problem unless you can hold individual police accountable for their individual problems and not make it like the city did it. Because the city didn't do it. The individual did it, Whoa. Oh, it's all right. They making charcoal over there, I guess. They got dirt piled up. I just saw a lot of smoke. This weekend, I need to go see Granny Gail sometime or another. I kind of want to stop and see her right now, but I know Brittany's been off work since 4 waiting on me. And I'm so thirsty and I need something to drink. Granny Gail's got something to drink too, but if I was to stop by, I'd stay longer. Probably, like a lot of people will say, they'll talk about a lot of philosophies and be like, this is all what America's about and stuff. And then they'll quote like a Jewish poet, a Jewish writer, like the Jews. Iceland just got a rabbi in their capital city. It's the only European people that don't have a rabbi in their capital. And then this rabbi, he comes to Iceland and tells the people of Iceland, you need to let in Syrians into your country. The Jews must have heard it was the most homogeneous white nation existing. And the Jews, they come to America, but they didn't really come too much back when you had to fight the Indians or when you had to rough it out. They waited till we had everything built. Then they start coming in. And then they start trying to redefine what it is to be an American. Redefine what it is to be British. Redefine what it is to be Icelandic. And they got to be the most hypocritical people on the planet, like you look at Israel. They're sterilized. Not only do you got to be a Jew, you got to be an Ashkenazi Jew. They even discriminate against the Sephardic Jews and the other Jews, the Ethiopian Jews. And they want to keep their country majority Ashkenazi Jewish. They want 80% Ashkenazi Jewish. They want to keep real tight, secure borders. And then they go to all the other countries of the world and tell them to do the opposite. They say, don't have identity politics. They say, don't be tribalistic. They say, don't be nationalistic. And then they're the most nationalistic, tribalist people on earth. It's really funny how the Jews are having the Talmud saying that the non-Jew doesn't even have a soul, that the non-Jews just supposed to be slaves to the Jews. And then they'll turn around and go to other countries and say, y'all need to stop being racist. Look who's talking, the most racist people on the face of the earth. And then also, you know, some people, they'll say, I don't know, sometimes people tell me I shouldn't say what I say. Like, you know, I don't think that babies should be, I don't think that we should let homosexual couples adopt babies. I really don't. And like, there's hormonal reasons why. You know, like, okay, so like, let's say you got a man and a woman and they have a daughter, right? That daughter, hormones, the hormone health, if you take boys and you raise them without a father, they have higher stress hormones. If you take girls and you raise them without a father, and then you bring a stepfather into the picture or another man into the picture, she'll go through puberty earlier than she was supposed to. Her body says, you have no protection, your father's not here. You need to develop a way to get a mate faster than normal. It interferes with the development of the child. And then the mother, like when the child cries, the mother lactates, right? And so, and then there's also about forming, for pair bonding in the future, for mating in the future, imprinting happens of your ideas of the sexes from having, you know, like sons with their mothers and daughters with their fathers. They get sort of an idea of the opposite gender and an understanding of the opposite gender and what it means to be loved by the same gender and the opposite gender. And what's it going to do to a baby to be raised by two homosexual men or two homosexual women? It's going to mess up their hormones, even if they're very nice people and they mean to do the best and whatever, and they, even if they don't molest them like they disproportionately do, but the news covers it up and they try to hide the data and all, a homosexual is way more likely to be a child molester. But anyway, it's not good for children, especially young babies, to be adopted by a homosexual couple. So I say that, and then a bunch of people get mad and they say, oh, you shouldn't say that. How dare you say that? It's the truth. It's the truth. It's going to cause, and you know, I guarantee you, after they do it enough, they let enough homosexual couples adopt babies, 10, 20 years down the road, when we got data about it, we're going to see all kind of mental illnesses. We're going to see all kind of problems. It's not healthy. Homosexuality in itself is not healthy. It shortens the lifespan. It's a mental illness. A bunch of homosexuals got on the American Psychiatric Board and they changed the rules and took it off the list. But there was no change in the science to justify taking it off the list. And then the Jews in the media pushed to normalize it and to get it to be accepted. And now people just take it as a given, like it's some okay, normal, natural thing, when it's a vile, disgusting, it's vile, it's disgusting, it kills your bloodline. Like, if everybody did it, we'd go extinct as a species. That's why you naturally feel disgusted. Unless you have been subjected to a lot of propaganda since the time you were a child, you will naturally be disgusted by it. And the reason is that's a self-preservation instinct. Your body, you know, it wants to reproduce. It wants to continue your bloodline. That's why there's a natural disgust towards homosexuality. It's harmful.